I was checking our pregnant mare at dawn when my hand froze on her belly. Sam's cologne, and hushed voices drifted from the barn at 4 a.m. My pulse hammered. I crept to the wooden slats, peering through the gaps. Inside, my husband Sam, a hard-riding Texas rancher I'd trusted for 25 years, stood with his mother. Lantern light carved sharp shadows across their faces. 3 weeks, Constance hissed, at the anniversary party. Announce you want a proper white wife. That half-breed squaw has given you nothing. The word sliced deep, Sam chuckled. And the land. It becomes yours, she said. No courtsides with Indians over white men? My knees trembled. They planned to steal my ranch, erase me publicly, but instead of breaking, I smiled in the dark and began plotting their ruin. Have you ever faced a betrayal so deep it awakened the warrior in you when they plot to take everything? Do you strike back or outthink them? I had 3 weeks to end their trap. 3 weeks before that anniversary barn dance, I woke to sounds I'd known for 25 years, cattle lowing in the distance, the windmill creaking in hot Texas wind, horses nickering for their morning feed. August heat was already building at dawn, the kind that made the hill country shimmer by noon. I dressed in darkness riding skirt, worn boots, cotton blouse, my hands, darker than Sam's, and rougher too, moved with practiced efficiency. In the mirror, I saw 58 years high cheekbones from my Comanche mother, steady brown eyes from my Anglo father, a woman belonging to two worlds. The pregnant mare needed checking. I found her standing quiet in the corral, ran my hand along her swollen belly, murmuring soft Comanche words my mother had taught me. The mare leaned into my touch, trusting. You're up early, Sam's voice startled me. He stood at the fence, coffee in hand, looking every bit the successful cattle baron at 60 tall, silver-haired, smiling that smile that had won my heart 25 years ago when I was young with 2,000 acres and a father's warning to choose carefully. Couldn't sleep, I said. She's close. You worry too much. He kissed my cheek, his expensive cologne mixing with coffee smell. Come have breakfast. Mother's complaining the biscuits are cold. Constance, my mother-in-law had lived with us 15 years, occupying the best room in our ranch house, my ranch house, built on land my father deeded to me before I met Sam Thornton. But I never corrected her when she called it the Thornton Ranch. At breakfast, she sat at the table's head as if she owned it. 78, thin as a rail, eyes like ice chips. Martha, she said without looking up, I was thinking about the anniversary. 3 weeks, 25 years. She paused. Such a long time, and still no grandchildren to show for it. The old wound. 20 years she'd picked at it, the babies I'd lost, the children who never came, each time suggesting it was my fault, my blood, my weakness. We've had a good life, Mother, Sam said, but his voice lacked conviction. The ranch has prospered, Constance replied, her thin lips curving, but a man needs heirs. Samuel, a legacy. Cold settled in my chest. Sam squeezed my hand. The anniversary party, I want it special. Martha, really special. The barn decorated. Everyone from town, 80 people, maybe more. I want them to see what we've built together. Together. The word should have warmed me. Instead, I felt that chill again. That's expensive, I said carefully. We've been saving for the new well. Don't worry about money. His voice was sharp. I'll handle everything. You just be the perfect hostess. He stood, kissed my head. I have business in town. Back by supper. After he left, I watched dust rise from his horse's hooves. The mare nickered. The windmill creaked. Everything looked the same as it had for 25 years. But something felt wrong. I should have trusted that feeling. Should have known that when a man who'd never cared about celebrations suddenly wanted an expensive party. There was a reason. Should have remembered my father's words. Martha, you're worth more than any man's last name. Don't ever forget what's yours. But I was too busy being a good wife to listen to the warning in my own head. Looking back, I see all the signs I ignored the expensive party, the cold looks, how he called me hostess, not partner. Have you ever silenced your instincts because you wanted to believe in someone's love? When your gut screams danger, but your heart says trust, which one should you follow? 2 nights later, I couldn't sleep. The mare was restless, and something pulled me from bed at 4 a.m, that same uneasy feeling I'd had since Sam announced the party. I dressed quietly in the darkness, careful not to wake him, and slipped out of the house. The Texas night was still, the kind of deep silence that comes before dawn. Stars scattered across the black sky like scattered seed. My boots crunched softly on the dry earth as I crossed the yard toward the barn. The mare was due any day now, and I wanted to check on her one more time. But as I approached, I saw a flicker of lantern light through the barn sideboards. Voices drifted out low, urgent, Sam's voice, and his mother's. I froze. What were they doing in the barn at 4 a.m? Something in my gut screamed danger. Instead of announcing myself, I moved to the side of the barn where the boards had gaps, where I could see and hear without being seen. I pressed myself against the rough wood, heart pounding. Perfect timing, Constance was saying. Her thin voice carried clearly in the still air. 3 weeks, at the anniversary, in front of everyone. I know, Mother. Sam sounded nervous, excited. But what if she fights it? What if she refuses to leave? She won't have a choice. Constance's voice was cold, satisfied. Lily May is perfect young, white, respectable, everything Martha isn't, and once you announce you want a proper wife, the town will understand. A white man deserves a white woman, not some half-breed squaw. The word hit me like a physical blow. Squaw. The slur I'd heard whispered behind my back my whole life, but never from my own family. Never from the man who'd sworn to love me. And the land, Sam asked. That's the real prize, Mother. 2,000 acres of prime grazing, plus the water rights. If she fights me on ownership, she won't win. Constance's voice was sharp with certainty. Blackwell has already drawn up the papers. We'll claim the land. Is Thornton property your property? No court will side with an Indian over a white man, especially when we show she can't even give you children. She's defective. Samuel, Barron, you've wasted 25 years on her. My hand pressed against my mouth, holding back a sob. The babies, my lost babies. They were using my grief as a weapon. After the anniversary speech, Sam continued, his voice stronger now, more confident. We force her to sign the waiver. If she refuses, we'll have the sheriff remove her. Blackwell says it's legal. A man has the right to his own property. His own property. Constance laughed, a dry, brittle sound. She actually thinks this ranch is hers because her father gave her some land before you married. Foolish woman. Everything a wife owns belongs to her husband. She'll learn that soon enough. They were wrong. Texas law was different. I knew that much. But they didn't care about the law. They cared about taking everything I'd built. And Lily May, Sam asked, she understands the plan. That little fool understands she's getting a rich husband and a big ranch house. Constance replied, she doesn't need to know the details. Just keep buying her pretty things until the anniversary. Then we'll have our respectable family at last. I heard movement. They were preparing to leave. I pressed deeper into the shadows, my whole body shaking, not from fear, from rage, from betrayal so complete it felt like my chest was cracking open. Sam and Constance emerged from the barn, lanterns swinging. They walked back toward the house, still talking in low voices, confident I was asleep in bed, trusting and stupid. After they disappeared inside, I stood in the darkness for a long time. The mare nickered softly from her stall. The windmill creaked. Dawn was just starting to lighten the eastern sky. 25 years, a quarter century of my life, building this ranch, managing the cattle, surviving the droughts and the hard winters, losing babies, enduring Constance's cruelty, loving a man who saw me as property to be discarded. But I wasn't property. And this land was mine. I had 3 weeks until that anniversary party. 3 weeks to save everything I'd built. 3 weeks to turn their trap into their destruction. They wanted to humiliate me in front of the whole town. They wanted to take my land, using racist lies and corrupt lawyers. Let them try. I walked back to the house as dawn broke, my mind already working. They thought I was weak. They thought I would crumble. They had no idea what a Comanche woman's daughter could do when someone threatened to take what was hers. The war had just begun, and they'd made the fatal mistake of underestimating me. In that moment, I chose silence over confrontation. I let them think I knew nothing while I planned my counterattack. But was I right to wait 3 weeks? Should I have confronted Sam immediately? Demanded the truth? Maybe saved the marriage? Or was patience the only way to truly win when you discover betrayal? Do you strike fast or strike smart? The next morning, Sam announced he had business in town. "I'll be gone most of the day," he said, kissing my forehead at breakfast. "Don't wait supper for me." I nodded, keeping my face carefully blank. Constance watched me over her coffee cup, her cold eyes searching for any sign I knew. I gave her nothing. After Sam rode out, I waited. Constance went to visit a neighbor 3 miles away. She'd be gone for hours. The ranch hands were working the far pastures. I was alone in the house. I walked to Sam's study, my heart pounding. In 25 years of marriage, I'd never invaded his privacy, never searched his things. I'd been a trusting wife. That woman died 2 nights ago in the barn. Sam's desk was neat, organized. I went through the drawers, methodically account books, cattle records. Nothing unusual. Then I noticed the locked bottom drawer of his side cabinet, the one he thought I didn't know about. I found a letter opener and worked at the lock. The wood was old, the mechanism simple. It gave way with a crack that sounded too loud in the silent house. Inside, wrapped in an old saddle blanket, was a leather saddlebag. My hands shook as I unbuckled it. Letters, a dozen of them, tied with a pink ribbon. I unfolded the first one, and Lily Mae Dawson's girlish handwriting filled the page. "My dearest Sam, I count the hours until we can be together always. You promised me the big ranch house, the fine dresses, the life I deserve. I'm tired of being a poor ranch hand's daughter. Soon, I'll be Mrs. Samuel Thornton, mistress of Red Eagle Ranch." My vision blurred. I forced myself to read more. I don't care that you're older. You're handsome and rich, and you'll give me everything. That Indian wife of yours doesn't deserve you. Everyone in town says so. She's just a half-breed who got lucky. I set the letters aside, my hands trembling with rage. Beneath them were telegraph receipts, a dozen messages to T. Blackwell, attorney, land disputes, San Antonio. The most recent was dated just 5 days ago. Proceed with documents. Anniversary date confirmed. And beneath those, store receipts from the mercantile in town, a blue silk dress $45, a pearl necklace $30, lace gloves $8. None of these things were mine. I wore practical calico and leather, had for years. Sam had spent nearly $100 on Lily Mae. That was 6 months of a ranch hand's wages. Our money, my money, from my cattle, my land-buying gifts for the woman who would replace me. The last item in the saddlebag was a note in Sam's handwriting, dated 2 weeks ago, after anniversary speech force signature on waiver. If she refuses, sheriff will remove her by force. Blackwell confirms legal. Land becomes mine outright. Something broke inside me then. Not my spirit, my last illusion. I'd loved this man, built a life with him, forgiven his weaknesses, his mother's cruelty, the way he sometimes looked at me with shame when we were in town, among the white ranchers and their white wives. I'd forgiven everything, and he'd been planning to destroy me. I sat on the floor of his study, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal, and I wept. Not for long. I couldn't afford weakness, but I let myself feel it. Just for a moment. The death of 25 years, the death of trust. Then I heard hoofbeats in the yard. I quickly gathered the letters and receipts, shoved them back in the saddlebag, locked the drawer as best I could. I was standing at the window, wiping my eyes, when Rosa Delgado burst through the front door. "Martha." My best friend's face was flushed from riding hard. "I was in town yesterday and I saw—" She stopped, seeing my face. Dios mío, what happened? I couldn't speak. I just handed her one of Lily May's letters. Rosa read it, her dark eyes growing wider. "That bastard," she whispered, then louder, in rapid Spanish, "that hijo de puta I saw them together. Martha, last week at the Mercantile, he was buying her things, and she was hanging on his arm like a wife. I wanted to tell you, but I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was innocent." "It's not innocent." My voice was steady now, cold. "He's planning to divorce me at our anniversary party, in front of the whole town. He and his mother have a lawyer forging documents to steal my land." Rosa's face went pale. "Your land, but your father deeded it to me before I married." "I know, but they think no court will side with a half-breed over a white man." I met her eyes. "They're probably right." "No." Rosa grabbed my shoulders. "Martha, listen to me. You're the smartest woman I know. You've run this ranch for 25 years. You've survived droughts, cattle thieves, Constance's poisoned tongue. You'll survive this. I don't want to just survive." The words came out hard. Final. "I want to win." Rosa's face split into a fierce smile. "Then we fight. What do you need?" I broke into my husband's locked drawer and read his private letters, invaded his privacy to gather evidence against him. Some would say that makes me just as bad as him, that I should have confronted him honestly instead of spying. But when someone's plotting to destroy you, do you really owe them honesty? Where's the line between self-protection and becoming the villain yourself? 2 days later, I rode into town alone. It was 10 miles each way, 2 hours in the saddle under the brutal Texas sun. Sam thought I was visiting the dressmaker about the anniversary party. Let him think that. The town of Fredericksburg sat in a valley between limestone hills, a mix of German settlers and old Texas families. The main street was dusty, lined with false front buildings, the Mercantile, the saloon, the hotel, and above the general store, the law office of Josiah Hendricks. I'd never consulted a lawyer in my life. Sam had always handled legal matters, but Sam was the enemy now, and I needed to know exactly where I stood. I tied my horse to the hitching post and climbed the narrow stairs. The office was small, plain a desk, shelves of law books, a filing cabinet. Mr. Hendricks looked up from his paperwork, surprise crossing his weathered face. He was in his 50s, gray-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles. "Mrs. Thornton." He stood quickly. "Is everything all right? Is Sam?" "Sam is fine." I closed the door behind me. "I need legal advice, private legal advice." Understanding dawned in his eyes. He'd been a lawyer in Texas for 30 years. He'd seen this before, wives seeking help quietly, carefully. "Sit down, please." He gestured to a chair. "Whatever you tell me stays in this room." I sat, my leather document case on my lap. I'd brought the original deed from my father's safe, the one Sam didn't know I'd found years ago and hidden away. Something in me had always known to keep it close. "Mr. Hendricks, I need you to examine this." I pulled out the yellowed paper, carefully unfolded it, "and tell me the truth about who owns Red Eagle Ranch." He took the document, adjusted his spectacles, and read carefully. His eyebrows rose. He read it again. "Mrs. Thornton," he said slowly, "where did you get this, my father's papers? He gave me that land in 1858 before I married Sam in 1860. Hendricks set the deed on his desk like it was made of gold. "Do you understand what this means? Tell me." "This land, all 2,000 acres, was deeded to you, to Martha Red Eagle, your maiden name, before your marriage." He tapped the date. "In Texas, property owned before marriage remains separate property. Your husband has no legal claim to this land. None whatsoever. The relief hit me so hard I had to grip the chair arms. You're certain, absolutely certain. He pulled a law book from his shelf, flipped to a marked page. Texas is one of the few states with community property law, but it protects premarital assets. This land is yours, Mrs. Thornton. It was yours before you married, and it remains yours now. Even though I hesitated. Even though my mother was Comanche. His face softened. The law doesn't care about your mother's blood. You are a Texas citizen. Your father was a legal landowner. He deeded this property to you in a recorded transaction. That deed is ironclad. I felt something break open in my chest, not grief this time, but hope. Fierce, burning hope. My husband believes he can take this land from me, I said carefully. He's consulting with a lawyer named Blackwell in San Antonio about forcing me to sign a waiver. Hendrick's expression darkened. Thaddeus Blackwell. I know him. Carpetbagger from back east. Deals in questionable land transfers. He leaned forward. Mrs. Thornton, has your husband threatened you? Not yet, but I believe he plans to, at our anniversary celebration in 2 weeks. In public. Hendricks looked shocked. That's unusually bold. He thinks I'll be too humiliated to fight back. I met his eyes. He's wrong. A small smile crossed the lawyer's face. I believe he is. He stood, went to his filing cabinet, pulled out another folder. Mrs. Thornton, there's something else you should know. Your father's will was probated in 1870, the year he died. I handled it myself. My heart stuttered. His will. You were his only heir, but you never claimed the full inheritance because... He paused delicately. Because your husband told me you didn't want to deal with legal matters, that he would handle everything. Cold washed over me. What inheritance? Hendricks pulled out a document, handed it to me. 500 acres in New Mexico Territory, near Silver City. Your father purchased it in 1868 as an investment. Mining country, and he pointed to another line. Mineral rights to the Red Eagle Ranch property. If silver or copper is ever found on your land, those rights belong to you alone. I stared at the paper. My father's signature at the bottom. He'd protected me, even after death. He'd tried to give me security, independence. How much is the New Mexico land worth? Hard to say. But with the mining boom, potentially thousands of dollars, and there's a small bank account, $800, that's been sitting untouched for 15 years. $800. That was more than most families saw in 5 years. Why didn't Sam tell me? Hendricks looked uncomfortable. I assumed he had. When he came to my office in 1870, he said you were too grief-stricken to discuss your father's affairs. He signed the papers as your husband, said he'd manage everything for you. He'd stolen my inheritance. Not legally. He couldn't touch the land or the account without my signature. But he'd hidden it from me. Made me think I had nothing but what he gave me. Can I claim it now? My voice was steady, cold. Absolutely. I'll file the papers this week. The land and the account will be transferred to your name only. He paused. Mrs. Thornton, with this inheritance and your original deed, you're a wealthy woman. Independent. You don't need your husband for anything. I stood, carefully folding the documents back into my case. Mr. Hendricks, I need you to prepare something for me. Copies of the original deed, certified, copies of my father's will, and a legal statement of my property rights. Can you have that ready in 1 week? Of course. But may I ask why part? Yeah, because in 2 weeks. My husband plans to humiliate me in front of the entire town and steal my land. I met his eyes, and I plan to destroy him instead. Hendricks spread the will across his desk, pointing to each provision with a careful finger. Your father was a thorough man. Mrs. Thornton, he wanted you protected. I leaned forward, reading the faded ink. Thomas Red Eagle had written this will in 1868, 2 years before he died. He'd known he was sick. The cough that would eventually kill him had already started. The New Mexico property, Hendricks continued, is in the Silver City area, 500 acres in mining country. Your father bought it when silver was first discovered there. If you wanted to sell, you could get a good price. If you wanted to hold it, he shrugged. The mining boom is still growing. That land could be worth a fortune in 10 years. A fortune? I'd spent 25 years counting pennies, stretching cattle money through droughts, making do, and all along, I'd had 500 acres I didn't even know existed. The bank account, Hendricks said, is at First National in San Antonio, $800, plus 15 years of interest, probably close to $1,000 now. $1,000? That was enough to run the ranch for 2 years, enough to hire hands, buy breeding stock, survive any disaster, and the mineral rights to your current property, Hendricks finished. If anyone ever finds silver or copper on Red Eagle Ranch, you own those rights exclusively, not your husband. You? I sat back, my mind calculating rapidly. 2,000 acres in Texas that I already owned. 500 acres in New Mexico that I'd just inherited. Mineral rights that could be worthless or could be worth thousands, and $1,000 in cash that was mine alone. I was wealthy, not just comfortable, wealthy, and Sam had no idea. Mr. Hendricks, I said slowly, I need you to file these inheritance papers immediately, this week. I want that New Mexico land and that bank account in my name, only before the anniversary. Of course, but Mrs. Thornton, your husband will have to be notified. No, my voice was sharp. Is there any legal requirement that he be told? Hendricks frowned, thinking, not. Technically, the inheritance is yours, separate property, but in a marriage. It's customary. There's nothing customary about my marriage anymore. I met his eyes. Can you file the papers without telling him? Yes, but when the deed and bank documents arrive, send them to Rosa Delgado's ranch, my neighbor. She'll hold them for me. I stood, gathering my document case. And Mr. Hendricks, when you prepare those certified copies of my original deed, make 3 sets. I want backups. Understanding crossed his face. You're preparing for a legal battle. I'm preparing to win. I paused at the door. One more thing. Can you attend our anniversary celebration? As a guest? You want a lawyer present? I want a witness, someone who can testify, if needed, about what's said and done. I smiled coldly. Someone who knows the law. I'll be there, Mrs. Thornton. The ride home took 2 hours. The sun was brutal, but I barely felt it. My mind was racing, planning, calculating. My father had given me everything I needed. Land, money, legal protection. He'd known that I would need independence, that I couldn't rely on a husband's goodness forever. And my mother? I thought of her as I rode. The Comanche woman who'd loved an Anglo trader enough to leave her people, who taught me her language, her strength, her pride, who died when I was 12, but whose blood ran in my veins. They'd both protected me. My father with land and law, my mother with the strength to survive anything. Sam thought I was weak, thought I was just a half-breed wife who'd gotten lucky, who owed him everything. He thought 25 years of my labor, my cattle management, my survival through droughts and hard winters, he thought all of that was his achievement, not mine. He was about to learn the truth. I owned 2,500 acres of prime land. I had $1,000 in cash. I had mineral rights that might make me rich. And I had the law on my side. Sam owned nothing. He'd built his cattle baron reputation on my land, with my money, using my work. And now he wanted to discard me for a foolish girl and steal everything I'd made. Let him try. The ranch came into view as the sun started to set my ranch, on my land, built with my sweat. I saw Sam's horse tied at the house. He was home from his business in town, probably buying more gifts for Lily Mae with my cattle money. I dismounted, unsaddled my horse, brushed her down carefully. The physical work calmed me, centered me. I had 2 weeks until the anniversary. 2 weeks to move my best breeding stock to a secure pasture Rosa would guard for me. 2 weeks to prepare my speech, gather my allies, set my trap. They wanted to destroy me at a party. They wanted to use my heritage, my childlessness. My trust against me, I would use their greed, their arrogance, their certainty that I was helpless. And when it was over, Sam Thornton would have nothing. Not my land, not my money, not even his reputation. He'd have exactly what he'd given me, betrayal and ashes, 1 week before the anniversary. I was in the kitchen garden when I saw the buggy arrive, a fancy rig from San Antonio, pulled by matched bays. The driver was a man in an expensive suit, slicked back hair, calculating eyes, Thaddeus Blackwell. I stayed in the garden, pretending to tend tomatoes, but I was close enough to hear voices when they thought they were alone. Sam met Blackwell at the barn. They shook hands. Then Constance emerged from the house, moving faster than I'd seen her move in years. Finally, she said, "Do you have them right here?" Blackwell pulled a leather folder from his buggy. The revised deed, showing Samuel Thornton as sole owner, and the waiver for Mrs. Thornton to sign, relinquishing all claims. Through the barn slats, I watched Blackwell spread papers on a hay bale. "It looks official," Sam said. "It is once she signs." Blackwell's voice was smooth. "At the anniversary party, in front of 80 witnesses. You announce your intentions. She'll be too shocked to fight back. Then you present these papers. Sign or leave." "And if she refuses?" Constance asked sharply. "Phase 2. I've spoken with Sheriff Morrison. He's sympathetic. A white man married to a half-breed who won't leave his property. The sheriff will remove her by force if necessary." My hands stilled on the vines. Cold rage flooded through me. "What if she claims the land was hers first?" Sam asked. Blackwell laughed. "Even with old papers, no judge in Texas will side with an Indian woman over a white man, especially when we present evidence of her unfitness, barren, possibly mentally unstable." "No children in 25 years, Constance said eagerly. "Clear proof she's defective." Nothing about this was legal, but they didn't care. "And the girl?" Sam asked. "Lily Mae will cooperate," Blackwell said. "Pretty little thing, young, white. She'll make a much more suitable Mrs. Thornton." "I've been buying her things for months," Sam said confidently. "She thinks she's getting a rich husband and a fine life. She won't cause problems." "Good." Blackwell gathered his papers. "1 week from today, you'll have what you deserve, a respectable wife and undisputed ownership of this ranch." After Blackwell left, I sat between the tomato plants, hands shaking with fury. They had it all planned. The public humiliation, the forged papers, the sheriff as backup, even the justification, my heritage, my childlessness, my supposed instability. They'd thought of everything, except one thing. That night, Rosa rode over after dark. We met in the barn by lantern light. "I saw Lily Mae today," Rosa said, "at the dressmaker's, being fitted for a blue silk dress, $45. She was giggling, saying, 'My gentleman friend wants me to look beautiful for a special party.' She has no idea what she's part of. She'll learn soon enough." I pulled out the papers Hendricks had given me, certified copies of my deed, my father's will, the legal statement. "Rosa, hold these at your ranch. Keep them safe. If anything happens before the anniversary, these go to Josiah Hendricks." "Nothing will happen to you." Rosa gripped my shoulders. "We won't let it. If anything happens," I continued firmly, "Hendricks will know what to do." Rosa took the papers, tucked them into her jacket. "What's the plan?" "Let them have their party. Let Sam give his speech. Let them think they've won." I smiled, cold and certain. "And then I'll show them exactly who owns Red Eagle Ranch." "You're going to destroy him." "I'm going to give him exactly what he deserves." I met her eyes. They wanted to destroy me in front of the whole town, using my mother's blood and my lost babies as weapons. Instead, I'm going to destroy them, and everyone will see it happen. After Rosa left, I stood alone in the barn, the same barn where I'd overheard the first conspiracy 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks that had transformed me from a trusting wife into a woman who could plan her husband's destruction without flinching. They thought I was weak, thought I would crumble under public shame, thought my heritage made me less. My childlessness made me worthless. My trust made me stupid. 1 week? They had 1 week of false confidence left, and then they would learn what a mistake they'd made. 3 days before the anniversary, I rode 15 miles to Running Wolf's camp. My uncle lived with a small group of Comanche families on land the government hadn't yet stolen Rocky. Worthless ground no white man wanted. He stood when I arrived, tall and weathered at 65, his long gray hair braided with leather. His eyes, my mother's eyes, saw everything. "Little Sparrow," he said in Comanche, using my mother's name for me. "You come with war in your heart." I dismounted, embraced him. "Uncle, I need your help." We sat by his fire, and I told him everything. The betrayal, the conspiracy, the plan to steal my land using my mother's blood as a weapon against me. Running Wolf listened in silence. When I finished, he said, "Your mother married for love. That man married for land. Now he learns the land was never his." He paused. "What do you ask of me?" "Come to the anniversary gathering. Stand with me when I speak. Let the town see that my mother's people are not ashamed of me, even if my husband is—" He studied me for a long moment. "This will make you a target. Some whites will hate you more for claiming your Comanche blood openly. They already hate me for it. Uncle, at least this way, I'll stand proud." A slow smile crossed his weathered face. "Your mother would be fierce with pride." He stood. "I will come. I will bring 2 warriors. We will stand in our traditional dress, and every person in that town will see that you are daughter of 2 strong peoples." I rode home with my heart lighter than it had been in weeks. The next 2 days, I prepared. I organized my documents into a leather folder, the original deed showing my maiden name, my father's will, the marriage certificate, the certified copies Hendricks had made. Each paper was a weapon sharper than any knife. I rehearsed my speech in the barn when I was alone, keeping my voice calm, factual, devastating. No tears, no anger, just truth, delivered like bullets. Sam and Constance prepared too, but they prepared a celebration. Sam hired musicians from town. Constance supervised the barn decoration lanterns, wildflowers, long tables. She was almost giddy with anticipation. "Tomorrow night," I heard her tell Sam, "everything changes. Finally. You'll have the wife and the ranch you deserve." I said nothing. I stayed the dutiful wife, helping with preparations, smiling when expected. They thought I suspected nothing. The night before the anniversary, I stood in the barn doorway after everyone had gone to bed. The decorations were beautiful lanterns casting soft light, white tablecloths, flowers everywhere. They'd made it perfect for my destruction. I touched the wooden beam my father had hewn when he built this barn on my land. Tomorrow. 80 people would gather here. Tomorrow. Sam would try to take everything. And tomorrow, I would show them all exactly who owned Red Eagle Ranch. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't sad. I was ready. Let them come. The barn had never looked more beautiful. Lanterns hung from every rafter, casting golden light over white tablecloths and wildflowers. 80 townspeople arrived in their Sunday best as musicians played soft melodies. I stood at the entrance in my simple dark blue dress, greeting guests. My hands were steady. My smile was calm. Inside, I was a coiled spring. Sam stood beside me, playing the devoted husband. He kissed my cheek for the crowd. "My beautiful wife," he announced loudly. His cologne was suffocating. Constance held court near the head table, accepting congratulations. She caught my eye and smiled cold, triumphant. Rosa arrived with her husband. She squeezed my hand. "We're here," she whispered, behind them. Josiah Hendricks tipped his hat. Witnesses in place. Then Running Wolf appeared in the doorway, tall in traditional Comanche dress. buckskin and beadwork, eagle feathers in his gray braids. 2 warriors flanked him. The barn fell silent. He walked straight to me, placed his hand on my shoulder. "Niece," he said loudly, "we honor your mother's memory tonight." "Thank you." "Uncle." Whispers erupted. I saw Sam's jaw tighten. Constance go pale. They hadn't expected me to claim my heritage so publicly. Then Lily Mae Dawson arrived in that $45 blue silk dress, blonde hair piled high, young face flushed. She swept in like a queen surveying her future kingdom. Sam greeted her warmly. "Miss Dawson, daughter of our ranch hand Jake, a dear family friend." She took his arm too eagerly. More whispers. The town knew, after supper. Sam stood and called for attention. He tapped his glass, and the barn fell silent. "Friends," he began, "thank you for celebrating with us. 25 years of marriage is significant." He paused, looked at me. "But I must be honest. 25 years is long enough. I've done my duty, but a man has limits." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I married young," Sam continued, voice hardening. "I made choices based on land, opportunity, youthful passion, but I deserve better now. A proper wife, a respectable woman who can give me children, status, a suitable partner." He gestured toward me with disdain. "Martha has been adequate, but she's given me nothing. No heirs, no sons to carry the Thornton name, and frankly, I'm tired of the shame of being married to a—" He stopped, but everyone knew the word. Half-breed. "Tonight, I'm announcing my intention to divorce Martha and marry a woman who deserves to be mistress of this ranch." He pulled out papers, Blackwell's forged deed. "This ranch is Thornton property. Martha needs to leave tomorrow. I've been generous enough." The barn erupted in shocked murmurs. Sam held up the deed. "This shows me as sole owner. Martha will sign a waiver tonight, or the sheriff will remove her by force tomorrow." Constance stepped forward. "My son has been patient long enough. That woman has taken advantage of his kindness for 25 years. I watched them destroy me in front of 80 people. Some faces showed pity, others approval." Lily Mae's smile faltered as she understood what she'd become part of. Then I stood. The barn fell utterly silent, and I smiled. I walked to the platform slowly, deliberately. Sam stepped back. Confused by my calm, I took the spot where he'd just destroyed me and looked out at 80 faces. "Thank you, Sam," I said quietly. The barn was so silent you could hear the lanterns hissing. "That was honest. Finally." I paused. "Let the moment stretch. I've known about your plans for 3 weeks." The crowd gasped. Sam went pale. 3 weeks ago, I overheard you and your mother plotting in the barn at dawn. I heard every word. Lily Mae, the forged deed, the plan to humiliate me here tonight. I pulled letters from my pocket. "I found these in your locked drawer. Sam, should I read them? My dearest Sam, I can't wait to be mistress of Red Eagle Ranch." Lily Mae made a small sound. Her face drained of color. I also found receipts. A $45 dress, a $30 necklace, our money, my money buying gifts for your mistress. I set the letters on the platform and pulled out another document. "This is the real deed to Red Eagle Ranch, signed in 1858 by my father, Thomas Red Eagle, deeding 2,000 acres to his daughter, Martha Red Eagle." I held it high. "Before I ever met you, Sam, before I took your name, this land was mine." I handed it to Josiah Hendricks. He examined it, nodded. "This is the original deed, legally binding. Mrs. Thornton owned this property before marriage. Under Texas law, it remains her separate property." "That's impossible," Constance shrieked. She's just a landowner." I interrupted coldly. "And there's more." I pulled out my father's will. "My father left me 500 additional acres in New Mexico territory, mineral rights to this ranch, and $800 in a San Antonio bank. Your son hid this from me for 15 years. Constance, he knew I had an inheritance, And never told me. The crowd erupted in angry murmurs. Some turned on Sam with disgust. Running Wolf stood then, tall and proud in his traditional dress. His presence filled the barn. "My niece speaks truth," he said in his deep voice. "Her mother was my sister. Her father gave her this land because he knew she would need protection from men like this." He gestured at Sam with contempt. "That's when Lily Mae broke You promised me," she screamed at Sam. "You said the ranch would be ours. You said we'd live in the big house. You bought me things. You made promises." She was crying now, hysterical. "You said she was nothing, that she'd just leave." Jake Dawson grabbed his daughter's arm. "Lily Mae, stop." "No." She pulled away. "He promised me everything. The ranch, the money, a fine life. He said." She looked around wildly, realized everyone was staring at her with disgust. "He said." Her voice trailed off. "She confessed everything in front of the whole town. Where's Blackwell?" Someone shouted. I turned. The lawyer's chair was empty. He was slipping toward the barn door. 3 ranchers blocked his path. One grabbed his coat, and a forged deed fell out Sam's name as sole owner. Dated yesterday. "Fraud," Hendricks said quietly, examining it. "Criminal fraud." The barn erupted, people shouting. Constance trying to defend Sam. Lily Mae sobbing. Sam standing, frozen. His perfect plan in ruins. I stood on the platform, surrounded by my evidence, my allies, my truth, and I waited for silence. The barn fell silent. Every eye turned to Josiah Hendricks, the lawyer, and to the older man beside him, Circuit Judge Morrison, who'd been attending as a guest. Judge Morrison stood, walked to the platform, and examined my documents. The original deed, my father's will, the forged deed from Blackwell's pocket. He read each one carefully while 80 people held their breath. Finally, he spoke. "The land belongs to Mrs. Martha Red Eagle Thornton, 2,000 acres deeded to her before marriage, 500 acres inherited from her father. This is irrefutable." He held up Blackwell's forged document. "This is criminal fraud." He turned to Sam. "You have no claim to this property. Mr. Thornton, you never did." The barn erupted in voices, some cheering, some angry, all loud. The judge raised his hand for silence. "Sheriff, take Mr. Blackwell into custody." The sheriff, who'd been standing in the corner looking uncomfortable, moved forward. Blackwell tried to run, but the ranchers held him. "I'll be disbarred for this," he whispered. "You'll be lucky if that's all." The judge replied. Constance pushed through the crowd toward me, her face twisted with rage. "You can't do this. This is Thornton land." "My son?" "Your son," I said quietly, "has been living on my land for 25 years. And so have you. You'll need to leave." "Leave? Where would I go?" "That's not my concern anymore." She stared at me, finally understanding she'd lost everything. Then she turned and walked out of the barn, her back rigid with fury. Sam stood alone in the center of the barn. People moved away from him like he carried disease. He looked at me once, not with anger, but with something like disbelief. How had his perfect plan failed so completely? "Sam," I said, and my voice carried across the silent barn. "You're welcome to take your personal belongings, but I want you off my ranch by sunrise." He opened his mouth, closed it. There was nothing left to say. He walked out without a word. Lily Mae was already gone, her father dragging her away in shame. Running Wolf approached me, placed both hands on my shoulders. "Your mother would be fierce with pride. Little sparrow, you honored both your bloods tonight." Some townspeople came forward, then people who'd known me for years, who'd watched me work this ranch, who'd seen the truth. "Martha, I'm sorry," Mrs. F. Schmidt said. "We should have known better." Others nodded, apologized, shook my hand. Not everyone, some left still muttering about that half-breed woman, but enough to matter. Rosa hugged me tight. "You did it." "We did it," I corrected. 3 months later, I stood on my land, all 2,500 acres of it, watching the sun rise over the Texas hills. Sam was working as a hired hand on a ranch 200 miles away. Constance lived with her nephew in Louisiana, bitter and powerless. Lily Mae had married a traveling salesman and left Texas. Blackwell had fled west, his law career destroyed, and I was free. I ran Red Eagle Ranch alone now. With good hands who respected me, I mentored young women, white, Mexican, native, teaching them they could own land, run businesses, stand on their own. Running Wolf visited monthly and slowly, carefully. I was rebuilding bridges between my two worlds. I never remarried. I didn't need to. I stood on my mother's legacy and my father's gift, and I was enough. My 25-year battle taught me that your worth isn't determined by who loves you, it's determined by what you own and protect. I survived because I had legal proof, hidden assets, and the courage to claim my heritage publicly. Document everything. Control your own money. Never apologize for who you are. These aren't just survival tactics, they're weapons against those who underestimate you. If my story resonated, comment below what you'd do differently. Subscribe for more tales of women who refuse to be erased. Share this with someone fighting their own quiet war. Remember, they can take your trust, but never let them take your power.